Sometimes I just get tired of explaining a thing because then we hit this situation right here where people are blaming the quote unquote anti woke gamer, but no one wants to analyze the situations that led up to this point where nerds, gamers, people who predominantly don't care about issues and things that happen around them are now voting and are now going against a certain ideology. Like this happened with the evangelical Christians that had the war on fun. So Pokemon was satanic, D&D was satanic. If you heavy metal was the Satan's music, the devil's music, and when that whole cultural thing happened, it was the children of the evangelical Christian parents that eventually revolted, bringing us into the whole woke era. Well, I mean, it brought us into, the Democratic era, so we voted for Obama. He was fine up until his second term. Then we hit a little bit of this, and then Trump got in office for 4 years. Then Biden hit the office, and that's when people really started doubling down on what average everyday people consider this word right here. And part of the idea is to be subversive. Like when you use this word, and the first thing out of a person's mouth is, "What do you mean by woke?" I know what's happening. I know the logic being used here. And again, to me, it's in gaming, it's going against the consumer. Like any game that has this attached to it, like nobody will buy. Like I know when Godot had the whole situation where it's like, oh, I guess games are woke now. Post your woke games in Godot, your woke dough games, and one of the top investors of Godot which is effectively like uh, an engine, right? Like Unity and Unreal. One of the top donators are like, please just work on your engine. And apparently, one of these types of people was ended up banning him. Again, one of the top donators of Godot was blocked by their website by people who with this mindset. And again, part of it is entering high levels of businesses and positions and then banning everyone that disagrees with you, infecting it like a cell. Like, I read the philosophies behind this, and even if the people using these tactics don't understand, I understand what's happening. I can tell them what's happening. And, well, eventually they'll just say, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, and block me, which usually happens. So we reach this situation where, again, the consumer is seeing the products coming out of these companies, and it's not the ideology that really matters. It's the fact that they're $70 and now they're going to be $80. I'm going to do a video on that. Is the fact that you see nothing but remakes, remasters, prequels, and sequels. Is the fact that you see the Americanization of anime, which happened with Ultraman, one of my favorite series, and The Devil May Cry. It's all these things you see happening that is contributing towards this culture that the consumer is heavily against. And you can tell the consumer's against it because these games don't sell. And that's the key word, is sell. Like, they may have 50,000 players, right? Because oh, you pay the Xbox subscription and you get the game for free, and they consider anyone who has the subscription effectively already having the game, right? They probably just handed out a lot of copies of the game, and now that's a check on the box. But sales is what you really need to look at. So let's get into this, shall we? I'm off my soapbox.
I have my pronouns in my bio. This has made a number of supposedly rational people very angry. And I can't help but recall the way the word triggered was plastered over titles and thumbnails alike when I was younger. How
Yeah, this is people's attempt to understand this weird phenomenon of effectively emotional blackmailing. Like, yeah, worse than Hitler. Yeah. To be fair, this one they just did it. They did this girl dirty, but she actually was relatively calm. And again, this was the terminology the so-called SJWs used. Like, they had things like trigger words and stuff like that. You know, the infantilization of women and people of color and people who, of undeterminate gender, like to infantilize grown ass adults, and when people were just trying to understand, like, this is the attempt to like what was that, 8 years ago? 8 years ago, like, people were attempting to understand, to put words to the phenomenon, because the same people that did this, they weren't going to explain to you. They would just act like Karens and yell at you. And it's like, why is this individual being irrationally mad, comparing someone who's just an ass to probably one of the worst people on, like, in human history? And let's look at some of these comments. Like, I mean, it's nice of you to breeze past this. Your voice is annoying. In fact, and the fact that you are a they them gives you no credibility at all. You are the definition of cringe puke. I mean, this person just probably typed this and fucked off. I mean, is this cringe? Was that really an insult? Was that someone getting mad? Puke. This video would be better if she wasn't gay. I mean, most of these, okay, you have name, then you have like a 5, 6, 7, or 4-digit number, probably bots. It's so weird being unable to refer to a female she or her because of fear. I mean, this is 100% reason. Like, we lived through this era where, like, misgendering. Well, at one point, I think it was in Canada, was a legal offense and was a fireable offense in businesses, because those types of people, was the HR ladies, and 100% use it as such. CB going on pronouns wagon, are we, lol? What has the world turned into? I mean, yeah, and this is probably just a normal fucking person who's, I mean, if they're not a bot, being like, okay. And again, I grew up in the era of Tumblr where people want to, like, use their mental illnesses as like a crucifix. Like, you could tell a person was a Christian because they told you without even really saying anything. They had the crosses, they had Bible verses in their bios, and that's effectively what the pronouns are, right? That is effectively what the mental illnesses in the bio were. And then if this person spurred out at you with the mental illness, and you're like, bitch, what the fuck you talking about? You'd have a bunch of people dogpiling you. It's like, oh, hey, this person's autistic. What's going on? It's like, well, I was minding my fucking business. Then out comes this person who, okay, maybe if they can't mentally control themselves online should get the fuck off the internet. But no, they're just spurging. I was about to agree with you, however, I realize you have pronouns in your bio, which means your opinion is not worth listening to. I mean, is this like someone getting mad? Or they're being like, oh god, it's one of these people. Oh fuck. Like they have the same reaction a person has when their dog pukes on the floor. You're like, oh god. Lots of gay shit in your reviews, so I don't like it. Game still sucks though. I'm trying to read these at the bottom, but the damn this is blocking. Get ready, a gender confused YouTuber just sent its fans to attack you. No one cares about pronouns, Skitty. I mean, the consumer does. Like, if they see it, they understand the ideology of the people that put it in. They understand, the tenets, right? Like, this is why, well, it's one of the reasons, a very small one, but a valid reason why I'm not playing Oblivion. Like, Oblivion was a perfect game. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. But they still felt the need to change it. Even just a little bit. To put body type 1 or 2. Which the consumer clearly just doesn't want. It doesn't matter if, you think it's the correct thing to do. The consumer doesn't want it. And the fact that he changed just that little bit tells me all I need to know about the developers. And it's the fact that's a fucking remake. And I also heard they're remaking Gears of War. Why the fuck are we remaking shit? Why is there no new shit coming out? Oh, and when it does, okay, it flops. Because you can tell, the type of consultancy groups that worked on it. We're only 6 seconds in, and I'm on this tirade. Let's get going.
Very angry. And I can't help but recall
very angry, sure.
all the way the word triggered was plastered over titles and thumbnails alike when I was younger. How people delighted in whipping overly sensitive SJWs into a frenzy just by saying something quote-unquote problematic. I remember the ridicule directed towards people, real or imagined, who would approach the media they consumed with no other goal than to call it racist or sexist.
Yeah, because there are, like, I grew up at a time where edgy shit, like, I watched South Park, Tosh.0, like, shows that absolutely wouldn't be allowed today. I mean, okay, I guess South Park and, like, Family Guy was grandfathered in, but I watched a lot of, like, Adult Swim. Things that were edgy just to be edgy, right? I grew up on the internet where 2 girls in 1 cup. You could just show that to a friend, and the point was to get their reaction and revel in it. And if you were the type of person that was like, why are you doing this? Why do we allow this? You're just a weak individual that, you just wasn't worth consideration. And surprising she used Anita Sarkissian because Anita Sarkissian, in my opinion, was one of the smartest people. I mean, everyone donating to her campaign were stupid, but she was a smart individual. She made a lot of money. She walked into the EU Parliament talking about, like, harassment in gaming amongst girls and women. Like, and her whole tactic was attacking things that, again, the consumer, which are primarily, like, teenage boys and men, like, looking at the thing they enjoy and be like, no, in fact, this is bad. This is all bad. We need to change this. We need to criticize this. And a lot of people just latched on because, a lot of them were grifters. But a lot of them, again, had this ideology, like this means to impose their ideology amongst other people. Like, if I'm not mistaken, they even quoted, like, a right-wing dude, like a Christian right-wing dude that they would absolutely hate, but because he was talking about the shit that they were talking about, like, which was video games. Only I guess in his case it was violence in video games and using them as like murder simulators. But they use that person's shit like as a reference, and it's like, yeah, I see, right? I see what's happening. It seems to not really matter the ideology. It just seems to matter. Oh, you get to whip your dick out, smack it on the table, and impose on people minding their own fucking business. And she made a lot of money doing it. A lot of people donated the Gamergate, which to this day is like a blemish on games journalism because they universally failed. She was 100% right about everything, by the way, and I'm not sorry. I mean, even if she was, it didn't fucking matter because it wasn't for you. You know, wasn't like if you played these games, you would understand. Okay, maybe these games are for guys, and if you enjoyed them regardless, that was a you thing.
Sexist, who would get offended over the tiniest of non-issues, who...
Oh my god, we ain't never getting through this video. Humongous. This guy was just a troll. He was just looking at a bunch of unhinged Karens and trolling. And it's like the fucker right in the pussy guy. It's funny. It's funny to get on these types of people's nerves. And if you're that type of person, it is hilarious to get on your nerves. It makes me happy to get on your nerves. Like, I sleep better at night knowing that I pissed you off. Like, the type of person that cannot, like, just needs to know what's in everyone else's head, needs to know how everyone else talks and acts, and if they don't go in line, they spurg out. And it's like, okay, what you get from this culture, just people that will lie to you. Like, they'll lie to your face to shut you the fuck up. And then when they vote with their wallet or at the ballot box, like, they will stamp against you and they will be happy. They will have that smile on their face. And you can call them whatever you want, right? I don't really care the like moral labels. Like, forget about all that. I don't care. They're just like he was against them, not the idea.
Tiniest of non-issues, who would demand ideological purity, not just in their video games or movies, but in every aspect of their lives. I remember how those people were made out to be uptight, sniveling crybabies who couldn't take a joke, who considered their feelings more important than freedom of speech, who could never just live and let live, who forced the people around them to walk on eggshells constantly, lest they say the wrong thing and be punished accordingly. But then, look at the infamous Starfield pronouns rant.
And to be fair, I will give them this. You know, the people that are against Asmongold, like it was not Asmongold, fuck. Heels versus Babyface. This rant was cringe, but he was 100% correct. Like, and I played Starfield. Like, I have like 500 hours in that game. It's a future, like, why would we even care? Like, imagine we're 100 years in the fucking future, like several hundred years in the future. Why would we even have the same mindset of a liberal white woman from a university to have to put the pronouns? Like, if you just analyze it for 5 seconds, I don't care if you agree with the ideology or not. Like, I'm trying to enter this fictional world, and the question is, would we even have the same mindset? Like, according to the people who oversee these games, the answer is yes. Even though they know this is not what the consumer cares about. Even though they know it breaks, you know, whatever lore, like, lore, whatever, but breaks whatever continuity they're trying to make, whatever fiction they're trying to make in a fictional medium. They felt the need to add it anyway. And we know this was a push by people of ideology to inject things such as pronouns in games. Something that most people don't care about, but they will care if you push it. Like, then they care. Because people understand, again, the ideology of the person that really wants to impose this and go after someone like Heels versus Babyface, a paying customer, for looking like he has every right not to play this game simply because it has pronouns. Like, a paying customer doesn't have to justify their purchase or them returning the game to you because of this. Yeah, I don't care the moral label or the emotional moral, condemnation you want to have for Heels versus Babyface. He has every right to get mad as a paying fucking customer.
Or the mere option to choose whether your character is referred to as he, she, or they sends this grown man into a frothing rage.
Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns!
Imagine for a
Yeah. Because we know this is current day bullshit. That was imposed in games. And, I know a couple of indie devs were attacked for not having the pronouns in their games by, the very type of people I'm talking about that's on Twitter. That if I have to go into detail, I can. But if you disagree with me, you probably just don't care either way. But you know that type of people. I know that type of people is fucking Twitter. Or X. I'm sorry.
a moment that this was a decade ago, 2015, peak BuzzFeed. Imagine a feminist foaming at the mouth over the option to wear skimpy, overly sexualized outfits. But that did happen, you cry. But no, it didn't. Not a single person complaining about booby armor in video games ever screamed the way this man does.
Yeah, but they pressured businesses, they pressured publishers, like they pressured the games journalists and the game studios. Like they're in like consultants, like the entire idea of consultants, of what Sweet Baby and all these consultancy groups like represent is a result of this subversive aspect that was imposed by people of your ideology, right? And we know this because they say they say this is the case. And when these consultancy groups come in, they change the product in a way that the consumer doesn't like and or care about, make the product worse, adds like weird things, and even good games like Assassin's Creed Ragnarok or Spider-Man 2, there's still these things that Sweet Baby added that makes no fucking sense. Like, I don't care the experience of a deaf girl. Why the fuck do I care? In a video game for guys that just wants to see, a superhero game where guys just want to see hot women superheroes beat the fuck out of villains. Like, why do I care the experience of a dev? Because they add these little things in. And they trick the developers into this idea that this is what the consumer wants. When, at best, they don't care. It's like, oh, cool. At worst, like people like me point these things out and know what's happening and know what's going on and was told by developers what's happening and what's going on. And the fact that developers can't speak against this because they can be fired.
Ever got as triggered as he did. And then you look at something like this, the curated list of video games considered too woke to play. This is, effectively, a list of trigger warnings. Lest a gamer encounter a same-sex romance option, or a pride flag, or, God forbid, a woman, and have their precious video game marred irreparably. And the game...
But again, I've looked at this, and I didn't know this existed until, someone told me. But yeah, there's this weird, there's these groups on Steam that are curator groups one of them's the Sweet Baby curator group that was attacked, but then there's this woke curator group, and to my knowledge, they're just idiots. Like, contains overtly pro-LGBT messaging, non-binary, other options available, identity characters, menu use body type instead of male, female, optional, homosexual, romance. I'm pretty sure Mass Effect would fall under this. Like, overly multi-pride flag, cone cards, and emblems. I mean, to my knowledge, this is just cringe. Like, this isn't trigger words. Like, and these people, they keep to themselves. They don't try to impose these things into companies and onto the market. It's just, I think this is like a curated group of just a couple thousand people. But you have to understand, people do this thing where they just don't try to understand why this exists. Because there's absolutely a push, an active push onto games, onto developers, onto the industry to add these. In fact, if you didn't add these things, you didn't get, government grants, you didn't get, a high ESG, and these things were pushed in a way that the customer just didn't like, without respect to the LGBT community, without respect to the African Americans, like without respect to women. These things were pushed in as a box to check by companies as a business decision. Not a creative decision. Because if they did, you'd have so many new fucking games out nowadays, because games usually operate off a 4-year cycle. So games like Interstellar, it was probably proposed to around 2 years ago, and now they actually have something. Games like the goddamn Marathon was proposed 1 or 2 years ago, and now they have effectively something fun. And that's why we know these things are going to come out and probably have these things, or maybe they're making some sort of creative decisions to turn away from this because of the terrible way these things were imposed in the games. The consumer will look for these things and be like, okay, I guess it's not for me. And the consumer has every right to do this. Like, I mean, again, if you want to throw a moral label on someone for not liking subtle pro-LGBTQ messaging and not buying a game because of it, you go right ahead. As a paying customer, you have every right not to buy a fucking product. I don't care the reason.
Women and have their precious video game marred irreparably. And the games on this list aren't just your Undertales and your Celestes. Counter-Strike 2 is woke because it features female Navy SEALs and female SWAT officers. Civ 6 is woke because it adds quote-unquote historically unimportant female leaders, which is...
Yeah... And this is fair because, unfortunately, there's a hell of a lot more male leaders in history than females. So they actually had to scrape, not really like the bottom of the barrel. There are several, but they had to just like I think they added Harriet Tubman. To be fair, she was a prolific civil rights activist. But a historical figure like Caesar of the whole of the Roman Empire, or hell, even fucking Hitler from Nazi, like, even if it's good or bad, like, she's sort of, there. I mean, she did good. And, like, why does she need to be? Like, what do you achieve? Like, I guess you achieve this fictional victory in your head, but in reality, it's just you're making the game effectively just, I don't know, like, comical at this point.
female leaders, which is especially fucking ridiculous since if Civ 6 was perfectly historically accurate, it would obviously be extremely boring.
Whoa. No. History's very interesting. Like, if you don't care for history, whatever. I mean, it's not really much something I'm into. I care more for fantasy and fiction, sci-fi fiction. But history is interesting, and you can get into a lot without just adding unimportant and uninspiring things.
Starfield is woke both because of the obvious pronouns issue, but also because the NPCs in this sci-fi adventure are, and I quote, improbably diverse. And hopefully you understand that all of these examples are self-evidently absurd. By this logic, real life is irredeemably woke because you...
Self-evidently absurd. Like, yeah, I guess not. Since people agree. I mean, this curator group, again, which to my knowledge is just kind of idiotic, but and if you make your purchasing decision based off this, I mean, I think you're just dumb, but I mean, you have every right to be dumb. I don't care. I mean, I didn't even know this existed till like a couple months ago when someone told me, and we had a lovely laugh. Oh, looking at the games that they had on here.
By this logic, real life is irredeemably woke because you might run into a woman or a black person.
Cringe, women, cringe. Why are we comparing fiction to reality? This is what I could never understand from people of this ideology that I'm pretty sure you have, that cannot make the separation between fiction and reality. It's why the consumer's going against these games and these products and, you know, these quote-unquote woke movies, is because the people of the, like, we know the people of this ideology cannot differentiate between fiction and reality. We know they think things can't exist in a vacuum, that these things are Rorschach tests, and if you have a story like, you know, Game of Thrones about rape, they will be like, oh, so do you endorse this? And it's like, no, it's a medieval fantasy. You know, unfortunately, these things happen, and if we want to do it with respect, we have to show it. But no, they do not respect IPs. They do not respect games. They do not respect gamers. They do not respect the companies they're in. I mean, the point is to be adversarial to all these things.
Those examples aren't what really get me. It's games like Dustland Delivery with 789 reviews on Steam, or Midboss with 207, or Chessplosion with just 128. Fucking Chessplosion is woke because you have the option to make your chessboard the trans flag colors. And you have to wonder about the people who contribute to this list, who comb through games with a minuscule install base just to make sure there's not a pride flag hiding in wait. How?
Yeah, I mean, these people are cringe, and they have every right to be. To be fair, the screeching feminists had every right to be screeching feminists in the early 2015s. We just made fun of them because we considered them weak people. And then with that spite, they entered the games industry to make games worse. And now people are not buying these games, which I think is a good thing. I mean, I'm sick and fucking tired of remakes. If, like, Halo cannot survive this incursion of people who don't care for the game, right? They just view it as a business. They don't care for the consumer. Well, then, Halo had its heyday. It should be allowed to die, and new IPs should sprout from the ashes. You know, from the corpse. I mean, I don't care. Like, we need new games, not remakes, in my opinion.
How do you see people like this as anything but enormous losers? I do not mean to suggest that anti-woke activists are as bad as the SJWs of yesteryear, because they're not. They are far, far worse. The anti-woke warriors are miserable and hateful, but they're also weak. They are cowards. They're afraid of pronouns, of women, of people of color, of pride flags, and
How do you know that? Like, is this the point of the video where you start, having this weird like psychological evaluation? Maybe they just didn't like when you fucked with the shit they fucked with, and now you've given them this means to fuck with you back. To fuck with this idea that no, we will push these things that the consumer doesn't, that normally no one cares for. Like, I'm looking at like Star Trek, it's always been diverse. Like, games have always been diverse. There's nothing more diverse than having fictional characters with fictional problems in a fictional world. That's all fiction. But then you have these people who don't view it that way. Like, they don't view fiction like fiction. They view it like a Rorschach test. They view it like, oh, if you make this story, this is like, it's either you're condoning everything that happens, or this is your view on either women or people of color or this, that, and the other. Like, these people entered the game industry, and now games are just boring, bland, uninspiring. Like, every game from Call of Duty to Apex Legends is just trying to be Fortnite. Like, there's no good stories coming out except in like anime, or like, games coming out of China or South Korea. Like, America has for some reason ceded territory with entertainment to other countries of the planet, and that's fine. I don't care. I do care that America's not competing anymore, because all these people have entered this like industry, and I guess they're leeching off the money that these companies have. But what we see with Ubisoft is that's not lasting very long. What we see with Xbox and Microsoft, well, I guess they're a big conglomerate that makes money off of other things. So, I mean, their games can be less inspiring. But you also have just games coming out of nowhere, made by like 20 dudes in their mom's basement, that pop the fuck off more than any multi-billion-dollar company. Like Schedule 1, Helldivers, Repo. I mean, Black Myth Wukong. I'll always go back to that. As just people that Pow World came literally out of fucking nowhere, put a damn good product that the consumer likes, but they're attacked for it. Well, I don't think Schedule 1 was. I mean, they are under a lawsuit, and I think Pow World won their lawsuit with Nintendo. I guess like the 10 nerds went after them, like, Nintendo fanboys, but they failed because lo and behold, the consumer votes with their wallet. Like, they don't have to say a damn thing to you. Like, they can say whatever the hell they want to shut you the hell up, but they'll always just vote with their wallet. I mean, I don't consider the anti-woke to be worse because, and I'm biased, they're going against the people and the ideologies that are fucking with my games. Like, maybe to you they're worse, but to me, they're doing good work, even if they are cringe, right?
And they're not content to just play safe games like Freddy Fish and Putt Putt. Yes, really. They need to let everyone around them know exactly what they have deemed problematic, if you will, by whining incessantly about all things woke. I know exactly who the snowflakes in my audience are, and they're not the people with pride flags or pronouns. They're the people who see a 3.5-hour long video about Tears of the Kingdom and choose to hyper-focus on the 10 seconds spent joking about Link and Zelda being lesbians. These people have become everything they claim to despise: overly sensitive, whiny, self-righteous assholes.
And again, this is also the technique people do, where there's like, oh no, you're just on the other side of the same coin. It's like, no, like these are like gamers just wanted to be left the fuck alone and play their games, you know. And why do you think Asmongold has millions of people watching his show? Why do you think like what's this fucking idiot the quartering, like why do you think these people are growing in popularity? Why do you think Grooms is growing in popularity? Because people think this way, but they can't talk to, you know, games journalists, because game journalists hates the consumer. They hate gamers. They can't talk to the companies because the companies have shut their ears to them. So yeah, they're going to go to, you know, the quote unquote anti woke. And if there's grifters, okay, I guess if you consider Grooms a grifter, if you consider him no better, fine. But you know, my biased opinion, they're doing good work because they're going after the industry that's attacking the consumer, giving them worse products. You know, attacking gamers, giving them worse games because they're told to. And I think they're doing God's work in doing it.
They have managed to far exceed, in their impotent rage, the very caricatures they used to mock.
I mean, and again, to be fair, Heels versus Baby, I guess he considered the sin of caring. Like, do you not think he cares about video games? Do you not think he cares about these things? And to show emotion, you need to care. Like, I mean, you can have someone with a completely straight face that will just tell you what to just speak what they have to say, speak the right speech, lie to your face, gaslight you. But what I see is a genuine person who genuinely cares about games, a consumer who bought the game, seeing a tiny thing, and they have every right to have this tiny thing piss them off, such as pronouns. Like, you don't have to agree with them. I don't have to agree with them. Again, I think the pronoun thing in Starfield is just whatever. I mean, they don't even stick to it because you have one character that identifies as they, them until you go into late game, and then they're considered a he, him. It's like, this is clearly something that they've added, you know, to glaze that type of individual that forces and impose these things. And make no mistake, that's exactly what they do. Like, they enter these companies and they force these things into the games and into products. And he's just pointing it out, albeit not very gracefully, which, again, cringe, but he was completely right.
They used to mock.
And then I'm someone who likes Starfield. Like, I'm not going to force myself. I ain't going to force myself to dislike a game that I clearly put hundreds of hours into and liked. I mean, I don't know what you want from me. But I'm surprised to see what the comments say. I don't care. Proceeds to care immensely. Hi, Rag. Oh, Rags did do a video about this. As ridiculous as the anti-woke games list is, it's at least it's consistent. When I see them not recommending Cyberpunk 2077 because of transhumanism stuff, I can get where they're coming from and decide if I would have a problem with that. When Anita Sarkissian says a game is sexist, says a game is so sexist it will cause women to be beaten up IRL. That tells me nearly nothing about the game itself. Yeah, and again, this is what I mean. Like, they consider fiction to be reality, you know, because a game has a hot female in IRL will suffer. Like, nobody, it's one of these things that nobody thinks this way, but you're not allowed to call it fucking retarded. Be like, that is the most retarded thing I've ever heard in my life, because then you're the bad guy for calling this just stupid. Like, do you think this way? No. So why do you think everyone else does? Your argument is just a classic case of it's fine to say bullshit as long as you say it in a calm tone. As ranting about, oh, this is why I called him Asmongold. His name, I did call him as. Ranting about Starfield in his own home, bad. Anita peddling her BS in front of the UN, but not doing it in a courteous manner, good. Yeah. I mean, this whole, the anti-woke is worse. One, I'm biased. No, the fuck they're not. They're fighting the people that fucked with my games. I think they're good. They're doing God's work. Keep doing. You know, the people fucking with my games could have just left them alone. Like I said, games have always been diverse, right? You know, back when you were bullied for playing video games, now everyone's a gamer, right? And now gaming's popular. You have these just weird ideological groups coming in, right? This is some serious rewriting of history. I mean, again, I think this is probably just her opinion. I've seen this video before. You sound upset that people criticize your video almost like you have a very thin skin or what's the word? A snowflake? Oh dear, Godding. 127, yes they did. They said video games would promote sexism, and the guy never went to the UN and demanded that anything negative about him be censored. Yeah, I mean, they took this to the UN to talk about these things, and a lot of people donated. Hell, I consider Anita Sarkissian to be the original grifter. Hell, you know what? Hey, Sarkissian, you're not gonna watch this video. Hey, can you be like my sugar mama? Or no, I think she has a. Oh, isn't she single? She's probably rich. You proceed to call people cowardly, insecure people, but start the video off by announcing that you made this video because of your comments on YouTube videos regarding your own pronouns. Grow up. Yeah, this is kind of what I'm saying. Like, the comments didn't seem like the people were mad. They're like, oh, it's one of these people. Tell me one thing Anita was right about. And nothing. But I'm saying even if she is correct about everything, I mean, even if fictional violence does somehow correlate to violence against, or fictional sexism does correlate to actual sexism in reality, right? I mean, I'm all for women, their Second Amendment, have a gun. I mean, have the big iron on your hip. Because I'm all for fixing sexism. Just have a gun. I mean, if you think women are going to get beaten up at IRL, have a gun. You know, have the big iron on your hip. You think the individual in your head that you claim exists, but I mean doesn't actually in reality? Do you think they will want to commit violence against women if she's strapped? I'd say no. I wouldn't think so. You know, because I get, like, you envision this demon, you know, this fictional enemy in your head, but it never really translate into reality. Alright, thank you for showing this video for a good laugh. Yeah. It gets clocked as a woman by voice alone. Sheath in secondary channel. C's in secondary channel. Will cry about being hate brigaded every single time. I do believe this is the playbook right here. But anyway, as A's heels versus babyface was correct, Anita Sarkissian, you all were wrong, but hey, you're smart. You grifted successfully. If you want to go out sometime, hit me up on my YouTubes, cause you're rich. But anyway, that's all I gotta say about this. Peace.